RCB have a top two spot in sight now after Chennai Super Kings lost to the Delhi Capitals. They first got a win against Hyderabad. You think they should on current form, 3 wins in a row. On Maruti Suzuki presents ESPNcricinfo T20 time on Carlos Brathwaite and Gautam Gambhir to discuss one aspect of RCB where perhaps we could see more improvement in this team. Gautam, we've been looking at Virat Kohli's numbers. He's looked great in the power play and suddenly he goes from gear 4 or 5 to gear 2 or 3 and then can't quite get the tempo up again. Just looking at the numbers outside, and it tells you Kohli decides not to accelerate and not to go hard after the power play. Would you like to see him bat differently after the first six?
It depends on the wicket, and I believe that probably the reason is Glenn Maxwell and AB de Villiers, because he feels that those two guys can actually accelerate and probably in the second half of the innings as well, so he can actually play that anchor role, which he's done really well whenever he's anchored the inning, whether it's 50 overs or T20 cricket, and that's not his natural game either. So that's the reason why he's most successful when he opens the batting, so that he can use that first 6 overs and probably get the momentum on his side and then continue batting after 6 overs, and someone else from the other end can actually accelerate. So that's his just natural game. But if he goes out of his natural game, probably then it's going to be difficult for him actually to score a lot of runs, because he doesn't have the same power or the same skill as AB de Villiers, or for that matter even Glenn Maxwell. But again, because you need all kind of players in your playing 11, and Virat Kohli is world class, no doubt about it. But most importantly, that they've got the results what they wanted. So forget about, and see, strike rates are very overrated. You can expect Virat Kohli to have a 600 run season, and you can never expect Glenn Maxwell to have a 600 run season. But you can never have Glenn Maxwell batting at 120, 125, and you can never expect Virat Kohli to be batting at 160 strike rate. So both those guys are different, and it's just the combination of everyone which makes a very successful side.
We focus on a lot of these major Indian players, Carlos, and how what their approach is like. KL Rahul for Punjab or Rohit Sharma for Mumbai. Now Rahul is someone again who wants to bat with more, you could say, caution because his middle order perhaps isn't in the best of form. Kohli now does have the benefit of knowing Glenn Maxwell's in top form after him against a team like Hyderabad. Would you like to see him perhaps bat a little differently? Try the other thing of having a crack. If you get out, you still have Maxwell and De Villiers to come.
Yeah, I think the point Gotti mentioned there was important. The pitches. I don't think the pitches have been conducive to fluent stroke play. So you found that the guys that would have gotten big scores they still had to struggle for the first 30 balls. I think where Kohli would be a little upset with how he's gone is that he's actually started really nicely in majority of the games in the UAE, but then slowed down. So I'm not sure if the pitch has come into the equation, not wanting to take as many risks. And as Gotti said, wanting to be that anchor. If he does want to be that anchor, then he needs someone at the other end to complement him and to take some of the pressure off of him. Because we found that when batters get to 33, 35 balls, they can then accelerate, even if they are run a ball at 35. If you get up before that 35 balls, however, and your strike rate is only 100, 110, it doesn't look as good. So I think the best thing for RCB is Kohli using that power play, getting to the 35, 40 that he has been doing up until over number 7, and then someone taking the pressure off of him, allowing him to rotate the strike, get to his 50, get to 60, and keep the momentum going. I think the problem has been there's been a complete halt in the middle overs. So whether Kohli needs to take a bit more risk or the bloke at the other end needs to take a bit more risk, as a team they need to work out how do we keep the innings moving forward, because the first 6 have been fine from over 10 to 20, 11, 12 to 20 has been fine with Maxwell, De Villiers finishing the innings. However, they don't want to have that lack of momentum between overs number 7 to 12. So that's probably the only point in the batting at the moment that they need to address.
All right. Thank you very much, Carlos and Gautam. We'll see if Kohli tries a different approach against Hyderabad on what's been the best surface, you'd say, in the UAE at Abu Dhabi. This was Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time.
We call it people technology.